These enormous projects had a hefty price tag but didn't end up being worth it, whether they were massively underused, debt-generating, or simply abandoned. So stick with the video till the end, as we'll be covering everything from derelict Olympic stadiums to an entire city that has become a ghost town. Without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. The first entry on our list shows that a big country offering you big bucks is not always the perfect deal. The Hambantota port was supposed to open up new trading opportunities for Sri Lanka, but it's still largely empty after more than a decade and $1 billion in funding. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe first designated the Hambantota area for development in 2002, but the plans were shelved after the port failed to pass feasibility assessments. Even after that, the port's development began in January 2008, with the Chinese government providing about 85% of the project's finance. It was formally inaugurated in November of 2010, despite the fact that tens of thousands of ships pass by the port each year. Just 300 of them docked in 2018. So why was China so eager to fund a project which didn't pass its feasibility report? According to critics, the Chinese government allegedly supplied the cash to draw the already vulnerable small island nation under its control. In deals like this, the big guys always win, and the story of the Hambantota port was no different. In December 2017, the port was leased for 99 years to the China Merchants Port Holding Company Limited for $1.12 billion. While this money could have been used to pay off the debt, it was instead utilized to cover foreign debt repayments and boost foreign reserves. With billions of dollars in Chinese loans still outstanding, Sri Lanka's debt troubles are far from ended. Next up is a billion-dollar project which has earned the unfortunate nickname of the Bridge to Nowhere. RUSSKY Bridge spans the eastern Bosporus Strait, connecting Vladivostok to the island of RUSSKY, which has a tiny population of just over 5,300 people. It is the world's longest cable-stayed bridge with a center span of 3,662 feet. It was erected in 2012 for a two-day economic conference of the Asia-Pacific Economic Community and the Russian government. Well, let's just say they splurged a lot. The government is said to have spent over $20 billion on preparations for the 2012 summit. With a mind-boggling price tag of $1.1 billion, the RUSSKY Bridge was the centerpiece of the preparations. It was designed to handle 50,000 cars per day, but rarely sees anything close to that number of traffic, and it is ridiculously huge and unused. A little more than a vanity project to satisfy the big guys, and it failed big time. Today, RUSSKY Island is very much a DIY attraction, but believe it or not, it was planned to be developed as a luxury tourist resort. What do you do when you acquire power after a life of hardship, poverty, facing caste-based discrimination in one of the poorest states in the world? Surely, you would try to make life easier for your fellow poor people. Well, some people are just sick and tired enough of slumming it up. Mayawati spent $1.3 billion on 5 parks and hundreds of gigantic statues while serving as Chief Minister of India's Uttar Pradesh state in the late 1990s and early 2000s. This included monuments of politicians from impoverished castes, including one of herself, as well as a slew of white elephant statues. The irony of this was lost on no one except Mayawati. The Parks and Statues project was harshly criticized by India's Auditor General and the members of the country's National Congress, who saw it as an absurd waste of money in a state where millions of people live in abject poverty. Mayawati was ordered by the Supreme Court in February 2019 to repay the public funds used to erect the sculptures. The former chief minister attempted to defend the status at a later hearing in April, claiming that they represent the desire of the people. It's unknown whether she'll pay back the money, but until then the parks will continue to be under-visited and largely pointless attractions in the view of many. There are white elephants, and then there are white elephants. The so-called Hotel of Doom, which stands ominously above Pyongyang, is a white elephant par excellence. The 105-story triangle tower has absorbed the equivalent of 2% of North Korea's GDP since its construction began in 1987. The beautiful landmark serves as a stark reminder of how the resources are being spent irresponsibly in a country where an estimated 10.5 million people are undernourished. The hotel has 3,000 rooms, was supposed to open in 2012, but has remained incomplete, abandoned, and underutilized due to finance and construction issues. The tower's construction was halted due to poor quality materials and electrical problems. Two sail-shaped skyscrapers in the adjacent area, inspired by Dubai's Burj Al Arab Hotel, were included in the blueprints, which were presented on official television. However, given the tower's incomplete facade, which has been battered by the weather for years, completion appears to be a tall order, no pun intended. The cost of constructing the tower is estimated to exceed another $2 billion. Talk about not having your priorities right. The next on our list is an airport that should never have been built. Ciudad Real Central Airport opened in 2009 at a cost of 1.1 billion euros or $1.4 billion when accounted for inflation. Investors were fooled by ridiculously high passenger estimates. The airport can handle up to 10 million passengers per year, but only a few thousand passed through in its first year. Airlines eventually dropped out, the owner went bankrupt, and the airport closed in 2012. The billion-dollar airport was reportedly sold for roughly $11,200 to a combination of British and Asian investors. This was 100,000 times less than it cost to build. The greatest bargain in history, if you ask us. Despite this, the airport remains abandoned, with little information about its future development. The Olympic Stadium in Montreal is regarded as one of the world's most infamous white elephants. Despite its astronomical cost, the stadium was not completed in time for the 1976 Games due to a series of problems. The stadium was predicted to cost 1.47 billion Canadian dollars in 2006, which is equivalent to 1.4 billion US dollars in today's money. The roof wasn't finished until 1987. And even then, it wasn't fit for use. The structure was damaged multiple times. And a piece of it collapsed in 1999. The stadium has attracted tenants on and off over the years, but hasn't had a consistent tenant since 2004, contributing to its reputation as a white elephant. According to sources, the expense of dismantling it would be higher than keeping it open for occasional usage. A German stadium construction company is currently collaborating with Régie des Installations Olympiques to develop new roof concepts. The goal is to put out a call for tenders this year, with the roof replacement set to be postponed until 2024 in order to stay true to architect Robert Taillebert's original design for the structure while staying under the $188 million budget for the new roof. It seems like Montreal's authorities in the 1970s weren't the brightest of the lot, because the next billion-dollar white elephant on our list is also from Montreal. Mirabel International Airport, also in Montreal, opened in 1975 as a replacement for Dorval Airport, for a cost of 1.7 billion US dollars in today's money. Despite the fact that it debuted as the world's largest airport, it quickly became obvious that it had major problems. For starters, Mirabel is 26 miles outside of Montreal, and as a result, passengers don't think it's worth their time to go there at all. Airlines quickly abandoned Mirabel in favor of Toronto, and by the time Dorval, now Trudeau, Airport expanded in the early 2000s, Mirabel flights had totally halted. Although cargo flights continue to operate to and from the airport, the terminal structure has been dismantled. The abandoned property now serves as a set for a few films, notably Warm Bodies, a zombie apocalypse thriller. White elephants built for athletic events are unfortunately all too frequent, and Brazil has had its fair share. For the 2014 Soccer World Cup, a total of 12 stadiums were built at a cost of $3.6 billion. Despite the fact that the tournament was held less than a decade ago, most of these high-maintenance sites are now abandoned, unused, or have been haphazardly adopted. The Estadio Nacional in the country's capital, Brasilia, for example, was reportedly used as a bus depot just 2 years after the World Cup. Meanwhile, corruption scandals, maintenance concerns, and large financial losses have afflicted other World Cup stadiums across the country. Furthermore, public funds are continuously used to maintain the generally neglected stadiums. According to a study published in the Brazilian daily O Globo, over $100 million in public funds was spent on stadium maintenance in 2018. The Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro has moved to holding concerts and other events in a desperate bid to make use of the property. However, its future remains uncertain. Failed megaprojects are always costly, but failed defense megaprojects can end up costing you your sovereignty. The Maginot Line was built in the 1930s at a whopping 3 billion francs, the equivalent of $3.7 billion today. The line, which extended along France's borders with Italy, Switzerland, Germany, and Luxembourg, was named for War Minister André Maginot, and it was made of barriers, fortifications, and armaments. It was built to keep German soldiers from invading France. However, it has gained the notorious legacy of being colossally unsuccessful. To the point of the phrase, Maginot Line has come to mean any type of barrier that gives the false illusion of security. The Underused forest, where French military officials believed the terrain was too difficult for the Germans to invade, had a far weaker barrier. They were mistaken, as the German panzers broke through the woodland and invaded France in May 1940. Despite its flaws, the Maginot Line was of some service to troops, as the underground tunnels beneath the defenses provided the army with training and residential space, including air conditioning and eating spaces, although it was probably not worth the high cost. The last entry on today's list is the wonkiest of all. The genius generals of Myanmar changed their capital at a cost of billions of dollars, all at the word of an astrologer. Myanmar's military government built a new capital at a rumored cost of $4 billion over a 10-year period, completing in 2012. Former leader Than Shwe's vanity project, the capital is supposed to have been relocated inland on the advice of an astrologer who predicted an amphibious US attack via Yangon, the former capital on the coast. Well, we suppose some people do take their astrology seriously. Wide boulevards, elegant homes, massive public buildings, and even a safari park may be found in Myanmar's ghost capital. Its only shortcoming is a shortage of residents. While official estimates put the population at 1 million, the city's real population is close to nil, making it a complete waste of money. This ghost city is separated into many zones, including residential, hotel, ministry, and shopping zones, to name a few. Despite the massive sums of money and meticulous design that went into the construction of Nai Pyi Daw, the city is primarily used for government facilities. Meanwhile, its infrastructure and resources are totally underutilized. That's all for today. We hope you have enjoyed the video and must be amazed by the amount of money spent on these useless mega projects. If so, then do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for the upcoming amazing content.